Hello, everybody. Welcome back to OHKO, a Pokemon VGC podcast. We took a week off, much needed, and we are back and better than ever with episode 42 of OHKO. I'm your host, Joe Brown, joined by my co-host, Sierra Dawn, and we are joined by a very special guest, the NAIC 2024 Champion Patrick Connors, the American hero in the Masters division. Patrick, thank you so much for joining us here on OHKO.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. I'm super excited to be on and chat about Pokemon and chat about NAIC. And I guess locals too.
And locals, yeah.
Yes.
So we got a jam-packed episode. Obviously, last week had the news about the locals, and we talked about NAIC. We talked about our roles and us watching at home. But now we actually get to talk from the perspective of someone that was in New Orleans and everything. But I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves right now, Sierra, because you and I, if anyone's followed us on social media, you saw that we have an announcement for this weekend. The St. Jude VGC charity tournament is happening this Saturday, and Sierra and I are going to be a part of it.
Super smart to have Joe Brown intro the episode so he can completely breeze by the how is everybody doing today, where I could have just had a 30-minute tirade about the fact that my charger that I just ordered got stolen from in front of my house, and he's like, we're not bringing the meat and potatoes of the episode. We're not going to have you talk about that at all. So yeah, no, I was absolutely fantastic. Yes, the charity tour this Saturday for St. Jude. We're going to be kicking off the broadcast, me and Joe Brown, which is going to be super, super exciting. And there's going to be cast of wonderful casters all throughout the day. I don't think it might be by the time this episode goes live, too late to sign up. But if it's not, definitely go and sign up. And if not, make sure you're tuning in. You can donate any way you can because it's for a good cause.
And Patrick, we're going to see you there too, right? You're going to be playing in the tournament?
Absolutely. I'm really looking forward to it. I have a unique team cooked up for it, so I'm super excited.
Oh, okay. You know what? I was just going to say you run back the NAIC team, because what do you have to lose? Obviously, it's the best team in North America since it won NAIC. It might as well be good enough for a charity event as well. But I like to see that the wheels are still turning. So are you...
Is it a quirky team? Is it spicy?
A little bit. I've been working ever since NAIC ended. I kind of gave myself a break from Ice Rider. I'm definitely going to use Ice Rider for Worlds, but I've been testing Lunala. So I have a couple Lunala teams I've been working on. So I'm definitely going to bring Lunala to St. Jude. Not sure what it's going to look like just yet. I have some more testing to do, but I'm very excited to try to do well with it.
Well, maybe you could use our OHKO Lunala team that I've... I think at this point, Sierra, I'm just gonna trade you the Mons. I'm gonna give you the EVs, and you just EV train them at this point because I think it's pretty solid. The team that we're, I'll send you the pace later, Patrick. Don't worry.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I got you for the rental too for the St. Jude tournament. If the team is done and cooked, we'll get that out right away.
Yeah. So anyway, this weekend, St. Jude charity tournament. Make sure to follow along on socials. Sierra and I will be there. I always love helping charity events and St. Jude specifically. For me. But anyway, let's get into the actual Pokemon here. Let's talk with our NAIC champion, Patrick. So it's obviously been a couple weeks at this point. You won the championship at the beginning of June, and here we are pretty much relatively at the end of June. So you've been going on a worldwide tour, all the VGC podcasts and interviews and everything on social media. You've been kind of become a household name over the last month. So has the success of New Orleans really hit you yet, or does it still feel fresh every time someone brings it up?
I mean, it kind of feels like a dream. I've asked myself multiple times, is it real? Did I actually win? And I haven't woken up yet. So that's pretty good. But I've really enjoyed it. I really appreciate the fact people are so interested to hear my story. I've gotten a lot of positive messages from people saying that I inspired them to go to their first local next season, or to really push to try to play VGC more, makes them believe in themselves. So I think that's the best thing about going on this little, I guess, I've heard somebody refer to it as a victory lap, kind of just talking about my run, talking about my experiences. Is I feel like I've inspired a lot of newer players and people who maybe haven't had a lot of success in VGC to believe in themselves. And that's all I really want to do is, make people understand and, know that even if they, aren't, the big name players that they're all, familiar with, or they constantly hear on, streams or tournaments, they can make a deep run too, and they can have their moment to shine. So that's definitely been the best part, though, is just seeing people be inspired and motivated by it. So yeah.
I'm sure too, as there's so many like players that are aspiring to make the deep run in the tournaments or to be able to win, to actually have somebody to look up to, like, because winning internationals is a pretty humongous feat. It's about the second best after winning the world championships, right? So that's absolutely fantastic. Have you, other than like those messages that you've gotten being like, hey, you've like inspired me and whatnot, have you felt like anything else in your life has kind of like changed since then? Obviously there hasn't really been any event, so there can't be like the going into an event and all of a sudden all eyes are on Patrick, but has there been anything kind of in your day-to-day or like even like with interactions you've noticed kind of a little different since then?
I think they're really like with interactions. No, it's kind of I've been joking with my roommates and my friends that it's kind of like that meme where the guy's sitting in the corner at the, at a party, and no one knows that I'm the NAIC champ. So like all of like my normal life has been the exact same. Like no one cares that I won a VGC tournament, like my schooling or like day-to-day life, but like it's I think the biggest thing, the most exciting thing to me is the fact that I get to play more Pokemon, and I've never really been able to travel for tournaments. So I think the biggest thing is just I booked my like trip for Worlds. And I'm going to be able to go to Worlds. So I think that's like definitely the most exciting thing about this whole experience is that I'm going to be, directly involved in something I've watched at home from years. So I guess it's more of like a perspective way of looking at it, but day to day, no, but I feel like you said, the future is what I'm most excited for, to see how this changes like my role in the community and the opportunities I get to do in this game and be able to play more Pokemon, which is never a bad thing.
I do actually I like the idea, the image in my head of you, Patrick, just like standing in line at Publix, like waiting on, like waiting to pay, and then you're like, oh, I'm an ASC champ. You can't throw in like a free soda or free chips. Oh, I'm an ASC champ. Come on, but just everyone out in the regular world, you're just a regular guy standing in line. But in Pokemon, you're, kind of an inspiration to a lot of people as a newer player. Everyone loves to latch onto that storyline of like local hero, or as people on Twitter, Florida man wins, NAIC. There were a lot of memes of that going on. Do you feel, I'm sure people like Abdullah and Justin Tang last season had to go through the same thing. I don't know if you've talked with them at all about this kind of like new heroes club that you guys have been able to join in Scarlet and Violet. Does it feel similar to their success from last season?
I mean, I guess in a bit of an ironic way, I saw Abdullah and Justin like win their events. I watched their runs. I watched them from home on Twitch. And I really I was also inspired by them. So it's very cool to have seen myself sitting in the seat of people that I know I'm inspiring, and hopefully someone that I inspire next season makes a deep run and does something similar. But I have not talked to Abdullah or Justin yet. I'm sure eventually I will. But I think a lot of the contacts I've gotten are more so a lot of players that I've never talked to, but more it's people I never really expected. Not really people that were, I guess, in that similar kind of situation as me, the people that have made the deep tournament runs and won that were newer players. It's actually a lot more of veteran players actually that have reached out to me and talked to me, just talking about how they really respected my run and respected the kind of I guess personality or objective that I've kind of tried to share, which is just believe in yourself and just play your best Pokemon and have a good time. Just don't put pressure on yourself. I've heard a lot of top players who are more experienced that feel like they have so much on the line say that they want to take more of that, which is just have fun with Pokemon again, which has been really cool. But I do hope to talk to some of those people as well that I was also inspired by, because I think it's very neat. But I guess I have plenty more tournaments to attend. I'm sure I'll get to meet a lot more people, even more than I've already met through doing all these interviews and gaining a little bit of notoriety from NAIC.
Yeah, it's only been a couple weeks.
It's so fresh, though.
Good star. You got a little time. I mean, I think that's really, really cool too, Breakout Star, because now you're talking about being able to go to Worlds. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of eyes on you because, even not even just the win. The win stands for something else, but even the way you were playing, I think was really just impressive all around. Because sometimes you see somebody play and it's like they seem a little bit indecisive with their actions and whatnot. You were just like, I know what I want to do. Like, I know how to navigate this game. Like, I want to know a little bit more about your history with the game because I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I had no idea who you were until NAIC, right? Yeah. Like, I don't know how long you've been playing. I don't know what you've been doing. Like, there's two top 64s or something.
Yeah, 2 top 64s, correct. Yep.
Yeah, so where are you up to? Where'd you come from? Where'd you get this skill?
Okay, so I guess I started in Sword and Shield, like playing online ladder, just kind of playing in game. Did that very casually for fun. Was planning on doing Orlando regionals whenever 2022 started up. Florida has some weird, government stuff. They didn't want to adhere to COVID rules. Missed out on the 2022 season, which is when I started playing really heavily, which was, I think, Series 12, which was a restricted format as well. Started playing really heavily in Series 12. I knew I'd have regionals in 2023, so started playing online a bunch. Just getting used to the game, learning the game, learning Pokemon, growing pains. A lot of bad tournaments, a lot of bad runs, like anybody does whenever they start the game, or most people. And then I guess Scarlet and Violet came out. I really liked not having Dynamax. I started in Sword and Shield, like I said. I always felt really awkward with Dynamax. I felt like it was kind of unfun for me. But whenever Terra came out, I felt really motivated. I really enjoyed the game, did a lot of online tournaments, and early Scarlet and Violet, because I knew that there was going to be a regionals in February of 2023, which was right after Scarlet and Violet released. And I had a really good first tournament, actually. I went 8-2 at the Orlando regionals in 2023, which was my first regional, and bubbled out of cut because it was only top 32 then. And after that, I only did another internets, which was the Columbus one of that year. Went 5-3. Then 2024 season at Orlando regionals, which was my first day too, went 9-6, and then NAIC. So NAIC this year was my fourth major. I haven't attended that many major level events, so to an extent, like this whole big stage thing, like those 2 top 64s were 2 of my 3 tournaments attended, so still pretty fresh to the traveling and competing thing, just because I'm a law student. It keeps me busy. It's a little hard to like afford traveling too much, or finding the time to even travel that much.
Yeah.
So I just kind of attended regionals in Orlando where I live because it's really convenient, and then wanted to go to NAIC because both years I kind of had like a little bit of delusion going on, which I was like, oh, if I get like top 16, I'll make like a Worlds invite. And I kind of went both like 2023 season at NAIC and this year with that kind of, I say delusion, it's all good. I made it. So.
Yeah, right. Not too much of delusion, I guess.
No, I guess not. But I went to both the events, just, saved up, figured out the finances for going to the internets, talk with family, help plan all that. And both years really enjoyed internets, but never really expected to really ever like play that much VGC. I kind of was content with just going to like 2 majors a year for perpetuity. I guess that'll change now because I have a little bit more opportunity, but really a lot of my skill, I think, was developed just regularly going to locals. Florida has a pretty vibrant local scene, and we have some really, really good players, even if not all of them are household names like Brady Smith or Riley Factura, which are 2 like most well-known players. Like plenty of them made day 2s, made pretty deep VGC runs. I think we have close to 10 people who qualify from Worlds this year from the Florida area. So it's a really solid local scene, really, really competent, like good players. And I think that play style, the really confident, self kind of assured, decisive play style was developed by playing really good players in my local area and knowing that if I doubted myself, then they would like walk all over me. So I think I found that I would most likely win if I was as confident or more confident than like the players who are much more established than me, played the game for 10 plus years, and just trusted my practice, because I have played, even though I don't go to a lot of majors, I have played a lot of Pokemon. I play, most days, at least a couple games on like ladder or showdown or something, do some sort of, Pokemon every single day, always like watching streams, watching regionals. So I'm definitely like a fan of the game. I love the game. And just, yeah, playing really good players at locals, just constant exposure to the game, I think really helped me, I guess, come out of nowhere to a lot of people and have that big performance. But yeah.
I mean, what about too, like, beforehand? Because, like, when we're talking about, like, other breakout stars, talking about, like, Tang and Abdullah, I mean, there's people that, sure, maybe for VGC and looking at majors, they're then a breakout star, but when you're looking back at their Pokemon experience, you get to see that, like, they've played, like, singles, or they've been playing, like, doubles OU and stuff like that, so it's, like, the whole competitive battling isn't necessarily new, it's just VGC and actually, like, attending. Is it, like, a situation where you had some sort of like prior knowledge of stuff to go off of, or you literally are just like, yo, I'm just picking this up? And like, did you play Pokemon like even just at a casual level before? Like, how far back does this go?
I grew up playing Pokemon. Like my older brother, who's like 8 or 9 years older than me, got me into Pokemon when I was real young. He was like a red and blue like OG Pokemon fan. So he kind of like got me into Pokemon really young. So I played Pokemon very casually growing up, but I never had any like singles experience. I never played like OU. I thought it kind of was it didn't seem fun to me, and I still really would want to play singles.
You can say it, Pat. You're international champion.
Say lame. I know singles is pretty lame. I can't enjoy it.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. That just
I'll say it. I'm a bit of a singles hater.
But, you're gonna say I'm just kidding too. Don't worry.
Oh no, I'll double down if it's making fun of that, then sure. But yeah, I mean, a lot of those players are really skilled. Like we saw, Kelsh make that deep run at Worlds, also win their first regional this season. So like singles is no joke. There's a lot of skill there, but I never found it that engaging, so I never really played it. But I was really a product of like the COVID VGC boom, where content creators like Wolfie and Cybertron blew up, and I, watched their content like a lot of other people did, and I was like, wow, this seems like a lot of fun. Like I can do more than just like play through a Pokemon and like being more involved with the game. So my first introduction was just watching Pokemon streams, like VGC streams, and watching VGC like content creators, and just deciding like, oh, well, I'm just going to start straight up with VGC, which definitely made the growing pains a little worse because I had no like idea of what like, EVs or IVs were, or, what a nature did or anything like that. So I had a lot of like, I guess, preliminary learning to do, that I guess people with the singles background don't have to do as much.
Yeah. See, Sarah, this is where I'm so intrigued with Patrick's story, because I see a lot of myself in this story. One, I also started playing VGC when I was in college, and I was coming from I've been playing Pokemon forever, but not a competitive background. I played in New York and New Jersey, the tri-state area, playing against some of the best players in the world, and here Patrick is playing against Brady Smith and Riley and all the other great players in Florida. So like I feel vindicated. It's like you fulfilled the potential that I could not as the new college kid on the block with like the way too tough of a locals. You actually succeeded. It brings a tear to my eye.
I guess I did it for all the students who got bullied by the much more experienced and talented professionals.
So tell me how those early years, obviously the COVID years, you start playing Sword and Shield, like how those early years of form, like you said, you didn't have the singles background. I did have singles, so I at least had some of that, helping me out. But like, were you sitting there trying to build? I'm trying to think of like Gen 8 Pokemon, like grapple locked teams and just getting your butt kicked at Florida locals, or like from the beginning were you trying to just use Zacian Kyogre and like the most busted meta things? Like, did you ever have that Karen like use your favorites moment in the beginning of your career? Like, did you always understand when you were learning the game, like, no, these strong Pokemon are strong for a reason, and if I want to play well and succeed against these great players, I'm going to have to use the stronger options?
Okay, so I guess yes and no. Whenever I started VGC, I kind of just copied whatever I saw like good players using and like tweaked it to what I, initially thought. And often I would just like, steal teams, like just pull up rentals and take teams that I saw players using in tournaments or modify things I saw in tournament runs. I wasn't really like much of a creative team builder in that way, but I think whenever Scarlet and Violet came out and I knew that I was going to be able to go to my first regional, I got really inspired to like try to metagame and make creative teams and like come up with the coolest stuff and try to get an edge of my opponents, because I think in a way I wasn't like confident at that time. I didn't believe that I would be able to use the best Pokemon and beat like the best players with the best Pokemon. So I believed that I had to like get that competitive edge. So my first regional, like I said, I did well, went 8-2, but if you look like back at Victory Road and see the team that I ran it was Regulation B, and I was running Brute Bonnet, like Gothitelle, Dozo, Geary, Iron Hands, and I think Arcanine. So it was like a mix of really weird things on a really weird team, and a lot of really weird stuff. Like I ran like Sash, Taunt, like Tatsugiri, and like Terrafire, like Loaded Dice, Brute Bonnet. A lot of really odd stuff.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it was really weird. It worked somehow. I'm not really sure how it worked, but it was like a very funky team, very odd. And I thought to myself, like, the reason I did well at my first regional wasn't because I was a good player. It was because, oh wow, I came up with like the most like off the wall, like hard to play team, and like, I didn't think my opponents could figure out lines against it, which is kind of a bit too optimistic, I think. But yeah, so I continue trying to build like really creative teams and innovate and like make cool stuff. And I attended my first local that season because locals weren't back until the Scarlet and Violet era. I didn't get to play any during Sword and Shield because I wasn't really playing during the locals era of Sword and Shield. So went to my first local and got beaten. Like I got beat pretty bad because I kept on like bringing to my first few locals really off the wall weird stuff, and I was like, oh, why am I not doing well? And then I was like, oh, because you're trying too hard. So I just kind of caved and started using better Pokemon and better teams and just accepting that if I wanted to win, you can like make cool calls or cool innovations to a team, but I'm not like the most innovative team builder. So I just kind of figured out for myself, at least. Other players, it's different. There's people who are really talented team builders who have really good like metagame insight and can make those really good calls. But for me as a person, I think most of the time when I win, it's just because I have played a lot of games with the team. I'm very familiar with how the team functions, and I'm really good with those pieces. So that's kind of the mentality I've had through most of this generation. I did go through those growing pains alongside learning the game of trying to like constantly be creative and come up with something so cool and like innovative that, people will be like, whoa, how good of a team builder is he? But I kind of, I guess, matured in the way I approached the game and just decided that if I want to be like, the best or at least very good at the game, then, I think just getting better at the game is the best solution to get better at the game.
There we go.
I mean, you got better at the game. You won the dang thing. So I want to talk a little bit about that too, because you said to like going into the event that you had this delusion that you just had to make top 16, you're going to make worlds. Like, where were you sitting at championship points like before? And like, is like making worlds been something that like you actually were like, yeah, I want to do this. I just don't really have the means or the time to go to more events? Or was it kind of just like a consolation prize and like being like, oh wait, I'm actually good enough to do this. So now this is when I can start attending like the big events and trying to make it known that I am like a player to watch out for.
Yeah. I think like going into NAIC, my plan was I was just gonna do my best and play my best Pokemon. But I really honestly expected to do worse or equal to how I did at Orlando. So like make day 2 and probably have a poor run. But I think that expectation was mostly coming off that even though I knew as a good player, I believed I had more growth to do, and I still believe I have more growth to do. There are definitely things I can improve. Watching back in my games, I'm proud of how I played, but I definitely could have played better in a lot of ways. But okay, getting off track, but going into NAIC, I did believe maybe if everything went right, I could make top 16, but I really didn't believe I could. And the idea was for me that next season I was going to try to make worlds, maybe attend 1 or 2 more majors, see if I can get close to those points. Because this year before NAIC, I attended 1 major, and just locals, and I had 319 championship points from just locals and Orlando regionals. So really solid. So I thought to myself, like, okay, if I can like throw on like 3 more majors, then I could just squeak by and like maybe make worlds in 2025 season. And NAIC was more so I was going there just to get experience and get more comfortable at majors, because again, that was only my 4th major. So I was mostly going just to get used to traveling more and to get used to competing in somewhere other than Orlando. But yeah, no, that was my expectation going to NAIC. Was just that was another step in me trying to get better. It wasn't me expecting to be the best at the tournament. I'm still very surprised at that. But yeah, that was my goal though. I didn't expect to make worlds this year. I knew that I needed to make top 16, get 200 points to make worlds. But I didn't believe that probably until after day 1, and I went 8-1, and I was like, oh wait, this is like real. I could do it. Like make top 16. Didn't expect the cop cut, but yeah. I don't think I really believed in that top 16 like dream until day 2 started.
I love it. I love it. I love that like you are able to adjust your goals as it's happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a fluid system. So going into it, I don't think I'll get day top 16, but if I do, I'll be happy. And then you make day 2. Oh wait, maybe I could get top 16, top 8. Wait a sec. But if we talk about your team specifically that you use, you were one of the first people in all the Regulation G events that we've had throughout the world that made Ice Rider truthers feel valid, right? It was always number 1 in usage, and everyone's like, it's so busted, and Glacial Lance, and it's the best restricted. Yet Miraidon wins the first Reg G event with Rajan, and then Michael Kelsch with Zamazenta, and like all these other restricteds keep passing Ice Rider by, and then Montana wins with Shadow Rider in Los Angeles. Like, did you know you were going to use Calric's Ice Rider from the beginning of Reg G? Were you always building around that Pokemon, or was it like a last second decision?
Yeah, I think the first time I played more than like 5 games of the Pokemon, like a restricted other than Ice Rider, was after NAIC. Throughout the entire my extent of testing other things is I played 1 Limitless Tour with Zacian, played 5 games, I went 3-2, and I was like, this isn't for me. I'm going back to Ice Rider. So aside from like a 5 best of 3 stint with Zacian, I've only tested Ice Rider. So from the beginning of the format, I kind of took inspiration from one of the players that's really good in our community, Riley Factura, who always used the same team throughout like Reg E and F, and was just like, okay, well, I'm really good, so I don't have to like adjust my team if I'm just really good. I mean, that's kind of the mentality I had with Ice Rider. I was like, okay, if I get really good with Ice Rider, and I know Ice Rider's really good, like it's just a good Pokemon. It's like, like you said, it's busted. It's one of the best Pokemon consistently. Even if it didn't win a major, it was cutting every major, except for like a couple European ones. So I was like, okay, Ice Rider's a safe pick. I'm just going to stick with Ice Rider and, get better at the game, improve, and just try to stick with one team instead of like switching up teams like I did during Reg F, and just get good with the team instead of switching teams. And I got bored with it. I just kind of powered through. Got really comfortable with Ice Rider, probably to like almost a detrimental degree, because now I pick up any other restricted and it just feels like I can't play Pokemon anymore.
This isn't right.
Yeah, like, it doesn't feel right.
My Kyogre doesn't have Glacial Lance. What's going on?
How am I supposed to like play the game if I don't have Glacial Lance and Trick Room? It's very confusing. I don't know how anybody else does it. I don't know why everybody just doesn't play Ice Rider. But I just got really, really comfortable with my restricted. And it's also really fun to play. I think the most fun thing for me is just the pressure it applies with only 2 moves, which is Glacial Lance and Trick Room. Everybody's so afraid of those 2 moves, and I think the main skill with Ice Rider, unlike a lot of restricted Pokemon, is just knowing when to click like one of the 2 moves and just being patient and kind of playing that chippy game with it. But yeah, I got really devoted early on to Ice Rider. I've played like hundreds of games with it. And and I never really wanted to deviate. I just like knew that it was the Pokemon for me. And at the very least, I was going to play it until NAIC, and 0-9 or 9-0, I was going to stick with Ice Rider.
I wanna like detour real fast.
Yeah.
There's still a lot about NAIC I want to ask about, but you had mentioned at the beginning of the episode, like for the St. Jude charity tour, you were gonna be playing Lunala, but you weren't practicing for Worlds off of that because you were still sticking with Ice Rider for Worlds. Like, I want to know, because like you're saying how comfortable you are with Ice Rider, totally valid. Worlds is still like almost 2 months away.
Yeah.
Is there like, how steadfast are you on this? Is it like when you're looking at Worlds, is it a comfort over anything type of mentality, or is it kind of like, hey, there's 2 months ahead of me, I could be persuaded, like type thing, depending on how the meta's kind of shifting along?
This is like, I mean, honestly, I know I'm bringing Ice Rider to Worlds. I don't know the 5 Pokemon I'm bringing with it, but I'm going to stick with Ice Rider because even though I haven't tested with the other Pokemon, I know how I play, and I know what tools typically work best for me. And I don't think I could be as good with any other restricted other than Ice Rider. So how I build the Ice Rider is up in the air, like what tear I choose, what moves I choose, what team I put it on. But I know that just with my comfortableness with the Pokemon, I'm going to keep playing Ice Rider. But the only reason I'm even making the decision to test with other Pokemon at the time being is to understand how other people like navigate matchups and other teams, get kind of an idea of how other things feel, but also because Ice Rider is really popular right now, and I'm tired of playing Ice Rider mirrors. So yeah, that's my fault.
Oh, wow, I wonder who made it popular.
I know,
Yeah.
but I'm tired of playing Ice Rider mirrors, so I'm just kind of letting the meta settle, and then I'll pick it up.
Suffering from success.
I know, it's so bad. I've faced my team with like the Lunala thing I'm testing so many times, it's actually miserable. So I'm just kind of letting the meta settle down when people realize, hey, there's probably like as good of Pokemon to run as Ice Rider, or other good things to run that I like playing better. So once the meta settles down, I'll probably pick up Ice Rider again. Well, I will. I will pick up Ice Rider again. But for the time being, I'm just I don't want to play mirrors, especially because I made like my pace public and everybody knows what I ran on my team. And I'm also enjoying seeing how people innovate on my team, because I've seen some really cool adaptations, people making like their own choices and adjustments to it. And I also kind of want to see how people innovate with Ice Rider, because that was kind of my idea whenever I made my pace public is, like I said, I'm not always the best team builder. I play pretty good, but I'm not always the best team builder. So I want to see what other good team builders do with Ice Rider and see if I can take some inspiration from them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to talk out of school here, but Urshimarilla, Insane, Raging Bolt, Calyrex, Pelipper, it's not Seijude 6. You know what I mean? Like it's the 4 most common non-restricted Pokemon, the most common restricted Pokemon, and like the number 1 support Pokemon in the format right now with Pelipper. And like some of the decisions you have on the team, like just like Terra Ghost on Pelipper instead of Terra Grass, or some of the other things you can do. But the other one I want to know is coaching on your Choice Scarf for Shifu. I feel like that 4th slot, a lot of times people, especially on a Scarf set, you'll hardly ever click Aqua Jet, right? Because you're not going to need, because you're super fast. So you played 18 rounds of best of 3s in New Orleans. How many times did you click Choice Scarf coaching in 18 best of 3s?
Shamefully, I could easily say like close to 20 times.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
So there's a lot of lines that I developed over. I've used coaching Urshifu since April. During like before Reg G came out, it was like one of the first things I actually added to this team. This team started with Urshifu and Calyrex Ice, and I think those are the only 2 pieces that have never left the team, like never switched up or changed at any point. And I think as well, the same sets I've ran since the beginning of the format, except for some spread differences like changing EVs. But coaching Urshifu, Surgeon Ice, Close Combat, U-Turn, and then Terra Water, Glacial Lance, Protect, High Horsepower, Trick Room, Calyrex have pretty much stayed the same. I ran Tyra Fire Calyrex a few times, but those two Pokemon have stayed the same pretty much all format. I guess, like I said, Calyrex changed Terras once or twice, but I get really comfortable with coaching. I think because it's such like a committal choice and it's such an awkward option, people don't often take it into consideration like they do close combat or surging strikes, and it can lead to really interesting board states. That I think if you're creative with the way your team like uses its moves, then coaching can be really neat, especially as an option on lead when you can so easily switch your Urshifu out after locking into coaching into like instant irrelevant. So yeah, it's very high committal as like a lock in for your Scarf Pokemon, but the value you get from immediately getting a +1 defense and attack to Calyrex can be really, really like important long term and with game plans. Like I was really happy to demonstrate that against Shiliang's team, where the coaching's kind of made a bulky team feel a lot less bulky, and allowed me to chip the team very like quickly and heavily, even with Reflex and so much bulk and the Wo-Chien like attack debuffs. So yeah, coaching's really good. It's one of those moves that doesn't get respected nearly enough in like team preview and on sheets. And if you're creative with the way it's used, then it can be really good. I think the only thing I'm a little salty about is I think there were 2 separate games where an instant like crit a Flare Blitz through coaching boosts on my Calyrex Ice to OHKO it during day 1 specifically. But other than like opening yourself up to crits, coaching's just a really good move, and it's surprisingly consistent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Flare Blitz always crit at NAICs no matter where. That's the rule of thumb. So just so you know for next year,
Thank you.
No worries. I got you. All right, I want to go back to talking about your run a little bit here, because talking about too, like, top 16, I get the World's invite. You're now playing in this major. Like, you're talking about too before that going up against your locals, you kind of have to have this confidence, or else they're going to be walking all over you.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, your local scene, despite how stacked they are, I mean, you have Brady and Riley, right? But you're now in top cut of NAIC, playing people from like around the world that have these really prestige records. So like at that point, like were you like, you didn't seem to miss a beat when you're on broadcast, but like at that point, were you like nervous, restuttering, or is this still like running through the same mind, like, hey, like you just gotta be confident, you gotta be calm, like you gotta do the thing?
Maybe this is just like a little indicative of like me as a person, but I was just kind of happy to be up there. Like these are people that I've watched from home that I admire and respect, and I think that whenever you are like a top player and somebody that people constantly see and expect so much from, I feel like they often get more nervous than someone who's a new player who doesn't have those expectations or that pressure on them. So that's kind of how I felt throughout Cut. Is I kind of just felt a lot more relaxed than my opponents, because this is my first time being in the top 8. Like, listening to the broadcast entering top 8, their names are mentioned multiple times, and like my name's just brushed over, like rewatching it. Like, oh, it's just a new person. Like, oh, who's Patrick? Who cares?
Wasn't our fault we weren't there.
That is true. That is true. But like, I don't blame them. That's like, and that makes sense because I'm the new guy. And that, I think that was like kind of calming for me. Like if I lose in top 8, no one's gonna like, put me under a microscope and be like, oh, you're better than this, you should have won. It's like anything after top 8 that I did was just an add-on to something that was already really amazing. It was a first for me. So every extra win or every set that I took a game, that was just a bonus. It wasn't really something I felt like I was, gonna lose or miss out on. So I think that was kind of what kept me calm. And I think just remembering Pokemon's a game that you're supposed to have fun playing. It's a game that like, you do with your friends if you're, lucky enough to build a community in the game. And it's a good time. I really, really enjoy Pokemon. So being on stage, being able to show off how I play, like my team, and like my philosophy of the game is really exciting. And even if I lose, I want to lose playing my game and not my opponent's game. So as long as I played my game and I felt like, I did myself justice, then I don't really know, like I don't really think I'd feel nerves or like feel too like much pressure on myself. Even after this win, I don't think I'll feel much pressure on myself because even if I never win another major, I already won one, so who cares?
That's more than most people, right? Exactly.
So I feel really lucky, feel really happy. And that's exactly how I felt during top 8 and top 4 and finals. Is I'm pretty lucky, I'm pretty happy, and I had everything to gain. So every win was, just a cool thing. It's another thing I can add in my Twitter, NAIC top 8, NAIC top 4, finalists.
Yeah.
All good Pokemon clout.
More in the bio.
Exactly.
No, but we could honestly, we could really tell from the viewer's perspective, just the audience in the crowd and watching the stream at home, the confidence you had, but the positive mindset that you had as well on stage. We saw the cast was talking about that, you're studying, in law school, and you're playing at the Stack Locals, and you're always one of the nicest guys. So where do you you exuded the confidence and positivity on stream, which I think enabled more people to rooting for you, on top of being an American, right, and not allowing Europe to get the clean sweep in VG. People were rooting for you inherently as an NA player, but you kind of gave people more incentive to root for you in the finals because of your positive demeanor. So where does that optimism come from? And look hey, it's okay if I lose, it's all up from here. Is that from your family? Is that an internal thing? How do you remain so positive in such a stressful situation?
Okay, just want to make sure I give a good answer, but yeah, I definitely think that's a family thing. My father's a really positive guy, and he always kind of told us that there's no reason not to be kind to people or good to people, and I think that's what I try to do, is just be kind, because you don't know what somebody's going through. You don't know if somebody's having a rough day or how much pressure they're putting on themselves. So I think it's really easy to be nice. Just be nice. So yeah, I think just remembering Pokemon's a hobby for me. There's other things I stress out much more in life about. So whenever I go to play Pokemon, I kind of wanted to let it be an outlet for me. It's supposed to be a good time. It's supposed to be something I have fun doing. And the moment I stop having fun with Pokemon, or the moment I start stressing and feeling like this is a chore or a burden, or I need to do something, is probably the moment I stop playing Pokemon. So I go into the game just expecting to meet really awesome people, wanting to leave a good impact, want them to remember me as like you said, that kind person who's welcoming or inviting, and just kind of give them the warm welcome that I think everybody deserves, especially in a game like Pokemon, where people come from so many different backgrounds, so many different types of people. It's such a fun collection of different personalities and just experiences. And I've definitely met so many different types of people I never would have met without Pokemon. And just in general, looking at the scope of the game and the actual competition, it's a lot less important to me than just I don't know, just being myself and trying to be, just like you said, kind, inviting, having a good time, and also play my best Pokemon, because I am competitive. I love winning, like most people do. But yeah, I think it's easy to stay calm when I treat this game like an outlet, a good time, something to have fun doing, and not a job or something that my value is tied to, because I'd much rather be remembered as a kind, positive, welcoming person than I would be a really good Pokemon player. Because that matters more. It matters a lot more to be a good person than a really good VGC player.
I mean, your family definitely raised you right. That's for sure. Hearing you talk about the game, I definitely think there's a lot of people in the community that do have a really good head on their shoulders. But to hear how you speak about it, and that there's so much more, I think is really refreshing, on top of everything else about your trying to do. And talking about your family, I think that was probably the most heartwarming, and probably the highlight of a lot of people watching the broadcast, because we got to see that your family drove out 10 hours to be there for Championship Sunday to support you playing on stage. So I just want to know a little bit more about how that was for you. If you suspected anything at all. They were interviewed out in the crowd, they were watching, there was cameras trained on them the entire time to get all their reactions watching you.
So no, I didn't have any idea. I was very locked in. I was very focused on my final set. Just like reviewing like my plans and different things like that. And also I like a front was kind of set up to fool me. My best friend traveled with me. He's the one who took the drive with me from Orlando. He's also my roommate, but he drove with me to NAIC. We rode together. Took the trip, stayed at a Airbnb with a lot of our other Orlando local friends. And whenever finals came up, Aurelian obviously had their mom there. And the people walked in the back, the people running like Play Pokemon, all the wonderful organizers, they walked them like, "Hey, do you have any family here?" And I was like, "No." And they were like, "Do you have like any close friends?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I have my best friend here. I can call him," because they were talking about doing player interviews. So my best friend came to the back and sat with me, and he knew all about all this. He knew that my family was coming. That he helped plan it. Actually, he contacted a lot of like our friends and ended up helping them like get them spectator passes. They kept them like a couple of my friends kept them entertained in like New Orleans while they were waiting on finals.
Not too hard to keep them entertained.
No, not at all. But yeah, my best friend kind of was like behind the scenes knew that we needed to fool me. So he went back there, sat with me for like 3.5 hours waiting for finals. I thought he was the one who's going to be on the player interview. That's what he told me. That's what everybody in the back was also in on it because my friend told them to keep it secret. They like did really well to hide the whole thing from me, like my father being there, and all that stuff. Like even the projected like stream computers, none of the stream computers in the back that I was able to see had my father's interview there. So I did not know my father was there. So the people in the back and my best friend did a really good job of hiding all that information, and I did not know until I won the set. I go to do I go to hug Aurelian. Aurelian's such a kind person, like actually such a wonderful person. I really enjoyed getting to meet them and talk to them as well. But after I, gave Aurelian a hug, we chatted for a quick second. I just see my dad and he's like, "Pat," and I'm like, "Oh no, why are you here?" And then I'm like, "Oh my God, there's my like little brothers and my sister and my stepmom." And I was like, "I'm panicking now." And he gets on stage and I was like, "Dad, don't get on stage. They're going to get mad at you." And he's like, "I don't care." And then runs up, gives me a big old kiss on the cheek and says, "Good job. Always believed in you," which I do believe that because he started driving actually when top 8 started because he said he knew I'd win. So, yeah,
Cry.
I know. It was awesome though. Like, I mean, I have a really good family. They don't get Pokemon. This is the first Pokemon tournament they've been to. They've watched like our local streams, but they like, they love me. They could see how much this mattered to me. They could see how much it also was like a big deal, and they really didn't want to miss it. So yeah, they did really good to hide that for me. I'm glad they hid it for me because as much as I'm pretty good about keeping calm, I can only like maintain so much composure.
Yeah.
I would have.
I think your dad even said that in the interview. That
he knows me well.
If you knew they were there, you would have played worse.
Yeah, he's probably
you would have been more nervous.
Yeah, I'm like I said, good about staying calm, but I'm also a super anxious person, like in regular life. So as soon as I like have my regular life interact with my Pokemon life, I'd probably like start panicking. But yeah, I'm glad that was a secret. I'm glad they figured all that out. But yeah, it was really wonderful. It was really like obviously beautiful moment. I think the crowd also like thought it was really beautiful.
There wasn't a dry eye in the building. Everybody like on the stream, like if there was already reason to root for you as the final NA, representative, like the whole like Hollywood, story of how it worked. Like I was talking with TJ, who was a Florida, local and judge and works with production and stuff and staff, and he was like, my job was to make sure like that at no point could Patrick ever find that his parents or his family was in the building. And, like I had to sneak them in when Patrick wasn't around, so he couldn't possibly see. So like it was like a whole Pokemon effort to give you that experience. So how do you feel knowing that like Pikachu made that happen? You know what I mean? Like that wasn't in, obviously your parents and your family took the effort to drive through, but like everybody understood how big of a moment this potentially could be, and it did work out perfectly.
shout out to TJ. TJ's like my TO in Orlando, so I know TJ pretty well. He's also like one of my biggest believers. Like he was trying to get me on stream from the beginning of day 2. So like he believed in me. He believed that I could make a deep run. Was constantly like, okay, I'm gonna get you on a side TV, but you're gonna get on stream. Just keep winning. Kept on telling me that, which was true. But TJ's great. Super like awesome guy. Like, but he usually has things pretty under control. So looking back, I saw TJ panicking in the back, and it confused me. And a lot of that panicking I found out afterwards from TJ was trying to keep that secret a secret. So yeah, it was. They did a good job.
TJ is not the best with secrets for anybody who knows him. So I just imagine him just like tapping his foot, like I must tell somebody.
I feel like when TJ stresses, like he stresses, like everyone knows. Everyone's
that's what I was confused about. I was like, he seems like I looked like everything was going well, and I was like, that's weird. But I was never gonna guess that was the reason he was like panicked. Because again, my best friend made my best friend Logan, that's his name. Logan made a really good like he was like, I wonder why TJ's panicking. I wonder what's going on. Like he's best poker face possible. Like, I guess something's wrong. Like he fooled me. So yeah. But yeah, it was really cool. I guess thank you, Pikachu, for making that happen, I guess. Appreciate Mr. Pikachu. Appreciate my family more than TJ more.
And TJ. We love TJ.
I love TJ for sure.
I'm just cracking up thinking of like the toe tappy. The toe tappy in the back.
Toe tapping, yeah. Oh god. Well, you did bring up the locals. I feel like we can actually I think maybe we finally start talking about this year. Because we didn't get a chance to talk about it last week.
This is where we deviate about just interviewing about you, but there was some breaking news in the Pokemon community as of late.
Yeah, exactly. And people, we want to know about Patrick Connors, the person, but also now the Pokemon personality. Now that your opinion matters, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just joking. I was trying to.
My opinion doesn't matter. That was a joke.
No!
Wow, that hurts.
You know how people like they're like, oh, what have you ever done? You know, but then now it's like, well, I won NAIC, so therefore my opinion is valid. Like it's a thing that happens. But whatever. Anyway, so now we're gonna just to talk in general about some of the other Pokemon news going on. You're very much known in that local scene as a local hero. You're a local warrior because you can't, don't have the time to travel around to Vancouver and Sacramento and all these other regionals. And so a lot of your growth as a player was at these local events. And what we learned last week was that for VGC and for Pokemon Go, next season, it's going to be under the same system that TCG is under, where the tournament if I mess it up here explaining it, because it is very confusing. We've changed the name of PCs and MSSs, and all this stuff is very confusing. So we'll try to get through the conversation for everyone listening. Next season, any sanctioned organized play Pokemon event has to be attached to a local game store with a cup challenge system. So that's an old TCG thing. Sierra would know that from her TCG days. Like, that's a whole TCG world that we never had to participate in. And now we essentially, as VG and then Go, competitive players, have to play under a TCG system here with cups and challenges and being sanctioned events at local game stores with tournament organizers associated with that. So I guess we'll start with Patrick. First, your thoughts on that. If you can correct anything that I got wrong, because it's like, it's a little confusing, all the information being thrown out at once.
From what I understand, the main thing that is changing is the professor and venue interaction, like how that works. I'm not really familiar with all the specifics there, but from what it seems like, most of the effect is going to I think be to the professors who have to scramble and figure out new places to host events. That applied to our local events. We are now getting two organizers. I almost call them PC, MSS things. I get used to calling them, what are they, cups and challenge?
Cups and challenge.
Cups and challenges. Cups for MSS, and then
the challenge
PC
is PC
for challenge.
Okay, yeah. Cool. So we actually in Orlando are going to get more locals because of this, which is really weird. But from what I've seen, I think this is going to affect a lot of smaller communities that aren't like full of big cities like Florida or New York or California or like, the Pacific Northwest. A lot of these big cities will be fine. They won't have a lot of like, change or effect. But there's a lot of small towns and smaller like VGC communities who they don't have card shops, and they were, playing VGC wherever they could, whether it be like their college or, any other thing like that wasn't a card shop. And it feels like a really arbitrary rule, especially for the video game, where like cards don't matter to us. We don't need like cards or a shop to play the game. We just bring our Switches. If there's a professor and judge there, then we can play the game fine. There's no like really need for any specific venue. So it feels like a really arbitrary decision. I think that the only reason I could think of justifying it is just to keep some coherence and like how events are run, where every regional pretty much is going to have like Go, VGC, and TCG, even though there's some exceptions to that. There's always going to be that like coherence where even locals are going to be the same. You have all three things going on at the same place. So I kind of get it from that standpoint, but I also feel like they're so separate in their identities. Like I know nothing about the card game. If you handed me a deck, I don't know how to set it up. I am like completely ignorant to it, so it feels really odd sometimes to, kind of force us together instead of like allowing each individual group of Pokemon players to kind of develop their own identity and develop their own communities and areas to play. Because I think that's really important, to have like a strong community with like your specific interest underneath like that Pokemon company umbrella. But yeah, mostly feel bad for the tournament organizers because they're the ones really having to scramble and figure things out. But from what I know, I think the structure is basically the same as PCs and MSSs. I know I've talked to our organizers in Florida, and even though there's a lot of panic and speculation, we should still be having like the same structure of like Swiss and the Top Cut for VGC like they have in Go. So like I think the structure itself of the tournaments isn't changing, but I don't really understand why they're inconveniencing the organizers like they are. Because the organizers are the ones that make the magic happen. It's not like, TPCI is going out of their way and like, employing people to, organize the tournaments for us. It's all community run. It's people who are really passionate about the game that, want to host these tournaments that, give us that privilege and that opportunity. So I don't know. I don't like that. I don't like making it harder on the organizers. Anything that makes their job harder is something that I don't like.
I think like kind of just understanding a couple of things that happened over the past couple seasons. I think the biggest cause for it, and like this is obviously speculation. I feel like I have to disclaimer that just in case, because as much as it would be nice to, me and Joe Brown unfortunately don't have more information about this than people would like to think.
We don't know anything.
But I think that there was some people that were running like kind of like last minute events and like to make sure that somebody could be getting enough points, whether for travel award, whether for invite, etc. But they weren't legitimized events. So like making it attached to a store kind of makes it a little bit more difficult to do that sort of thing, which I'm all for competitive integrity if that is the reason. I do think that maybe it should have been a case of getting rid of bad eggs that were doing that.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately now we're in a situation where, like, you're right, we're in the situation where VGC being attached to a card shop doesn't make sense. Like, realistically, what does a VGC player need for the game? They need their Switch, they need the game, whatever DLC. That's it. You're not in a card shop to buy cards, you're not a profit to the card shop, so why are they spending time to then have you there, taken away from TCG players when TCG is growing so fast? Like, I think it's really tough. Like, I definitely think when you're in a bigger community, like right away, I was just like, oh, Patrick's gonna be like you're gonna be in a situation where this change is like not really going to affect you too much because the Florida scene for TCG is crazy strong, and then there's a lot of really like great Florida TOs and judges. Like I even know a couple that are like, they're so communicative, they're so good about like telling people about the events and organizing them and making good things good for players. For sure. So like you're definitely so good on that front. But I know like there's a lot of people that already looking at like where card shops are available, like what TOs even on TCG are like doing stuff. Like there's not really anything there. So like I don't know. Goes back to what I said earlier, like getting rid of bad apples that are then, if that is the case for it, because that is speculation, but
Mhm.
getting rid of bad apples that are running maybe not so great events as opposed to actually making it tough. Because I feel like VGC too. I mean, I'm thinking of like all these like esports spaces like down in New York, and I know there's like one in Windsor and all this other stuff. Like there's a lot of different ways to be growing
Mhm.
that, and if you're tying them together, I don't think VGC ever comes out on top.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, excuse me, I think it's a bit of a mixed bag, and obviously a lot of people are very emotional online during this discussion and this conversation, and on people on both ends of this is good or this is bad. Yeah, I can understand the narratives, but like to me, I think for a long time now, and I've gotten into heated conversations with VG players before. Uh, I think for a long time, it's not just recently, people have abused the system to get extra CP for 6-player locals, for people to get to. I don't think that's a recent thing that has happened. If you follow some of the discussion, people are like, "Oh, you that want to make it harder for Worlds, you just made it harder because now all these smaller scenes they can't get any events because they don't have card shots or blah blah." It's like, okay, but at the same time, people, if you're running a 6-player PC at a food court at a mall, is that really the intention of what a Premier Challenge was supposed to, what the environment that a Premier Challenge was supposed to be with? And I think we should be able to find a better middle ground than it has to be a sanctioned, card shop, because like I don't know what their reasoning behind you can't have events at schools. That's been a thing for a while, that you can't have sanctioned events at schools. I don't know if it's like a promotion of the college or the university or something like that, but that's been a thing that had like, why can't you have an event at a library, or why can't you have an event at a YMCA, or the fact that it has to be attached to a TO and a sanctioned cup, whatever the term, like, one, it puts way too much control in the card store, in the owner's hands, compared to the tournament organizers and compared to the players. Because if that's the only shop within 50 miles that is going to accept VGC cups and challenges now, not PCs and MSSs, then they've got you, by the horns, that you have to go to their shop, even if you don't like that store, or that owner, or some of the interactions that you've had with customers in that system. You don't have a choice now because there's no other option for you to do it. And it also puts those store owners in a massive advantage in negotiations, and all the power that they command of like, oh, you know what? Well, maybe I just won't run any events, right? And then that's something that TOs don't want to. They don't want to deal with that power trip. They don't want to deal with some of those issues. So I think that's why I said it's a bit of a mixed bag. I can understand the uniformity, like Patrick brought up. Like, it makes sense to have we're all playing towards the same goal, so we're going to have the same system. But I do wish there was a little more flexibility. But I understand why, because people take advantage of it, and they put a 4-player event in a garage, and somebody gets 20 points from that, and that could be the 20 points that's difference between someone else getting the round 1 bye, or or a difference in travel awards, and all the things that happen.
I mean, I'd be curious as to when we split off from VGC and TCG being so intertwined. Not really including Go in this, because they do kind of operate under a different format and stuff, and the events are a little bit smaller, but we're at a point right now where events are capping extremely fast for both games. We don't have enough seats, and because we're splitting support between the games, neither, I feel, is getting quite like the exact treatment they need. Look at what you get for entry as a VGC player. You get TCG rewards, etc. So I think going into the future, it would be having a stronger hold on how events are being ran to make sure like fraudulent things aren't happening. But you need to look at disconnecting the games. Like, I would even think in a couple of years, like on a regional level, splitting it up. Because if you're hard capped to we need all 3 games to fit in one venue hall, and we need to have staffing for 3 different things and all of this other stuff. They're all gonna be capped by each other, which I think is gonna be really tough. And it also, like, when you're looking at even, like, the local level, I mean, I will say, like, in Toronto for one of the, MSSs I attended, the store owner, running a VGC event was amazing. Like, afterwards, he was asking, like, "What do you guys want for entry stuff? What do you guys want for prizing? Like, how can I make this better for VGC players? Because I have a card shop. I don't know, like, is store credit cool? It's cards and a couple board games, but, like, do you guys enjoy this?" Which is really, really nice, and he can kinda give us that attention, but if I don't think that's necessarily a case across the board because as well for store owners, if they have to accommodate more than one game, it's kind of easy for VGC to just get the same TCG treatment. Like, I don't know, it's toughy.
Also, I did forget that with the change to Cups and Challenges always had to have a minimum of 3 weeks minimum notice before they could be, like, sanctioned.
That is
like,
a good thing.
So that's another thing that VG now has to operate under. That was one of the other changes I forgot to mention.
I think for me, it's like, obviously someone that's newer to locals and has like a really honest, like solid local scene. I don't really get to see those problems you guys are describing, so I do appreciate the insight. But I do think like one of the biggest issues with VGC in general is that I don't think Play Pokemon takes it that seriously as an esport. So it's like, talking about, like you said, dividing TCG and VGC at like regional level internets because the games are growing so quick. I think it's just an issue of like, Play Pokemon and how much they want to put into competitive esports. There's a lot of smaller games than Pokemon that put a lot more into like making sure the circuit is honest and good and like high quality. So I think that if Pokemon's intent is to like make the game more honest, like more competitive, then I don't really see for me like making the tournament organizers' jobs less stable and then making them rely on like this card shop or this business to kind of keep tournaments running feels like not the right step for me, and making like, even if it isn't the right step or wrong step, it doesn't feel like the best step in making the game more honest or more competitive. I'm not sure what that step would be, but it just feels like an unusual choice for me. In like just trying to make the game more competitive, because I do think that would be a good thing. I really wish like more local scenes were like mine, where we usually have like, at least 20 players. We usually have enough for a top 8 cut, and like we play 6 rounds and we have a top 8, and it runs like a little mini regional. It feels really good. It's like the competition's pretty decent. Everything feels smooth. Like, I feel really lucky to have that, and I wish there was I guess a way from the higher ups to kind of incentivize like this like high production and like high like value tournament experience even at a local level that isn't just all in the professors. And if it is all in the professors, like, because my scene's just run by TJ, who really cares about like having a stream for the Florida players and giving us exposure and providing really high quality like well edited content, and like posting on YouTube so you can watch like all of our Florida players and like our MSSs and PCs having this really high quality product. It's all just a passion project of our awesome tournament organizer. And then seeing like somebody who's so exceptional at what they do, and then like, I guess taking even more autonomy and like authority away from them just feels like a weird decision to me. But I don't know. That's just my main thought, is I feel like there's a better way to make the game more competitive. And it's probably just doing more to promote the game. And like you said, Sierra, treating them as like individual things and not constantly holding like both games back by making them be together.
Man, I'm just thinking about like, because like one day I'd love to work for Pokemon. That's my 10-year plan.
Yeah.
Is like, after I'm done as an esports talent, like I want to work on like competitive Pokemon broadcaster, like somewhere in this sphere. Like I love that thought. But I'm just thinking about like individual VGC regionals. Like, I feel like what you'd be able to dedicate to an event to make it feel a little bit more like a real esport, because obviously that's the direction that they're trying to go into.
Mhm.
They're investing more in, you can
Prizes
see it
and
with
other
like,
things,
yeah, the prizing is better. The broadcast, they're doing more things, more and more. And I know people always have a lot of criticism for the broadcast because there's a lot of downtime. It's a Swiss format. You can't get away from that.
Yeah.
Like that is out of our control. But they're spending more to like have this content to be able to show and try
Mhm.
and like legitimize it and make it more interesting and stuff. Like I feel like invest that into like, you separate the games. You could have like a VGC event with like at a regional level multiple side TVs and more spacing to
Mhm.
actually watch the main stage, and for TCG having more card stands and trading areas. Like I just think it could be, I don't know, the absolute coolest thing. But they'd have to separate
Yeah.
games.
I don't know. I think it's a logistical nightmare to separate the three games. Like, okay, well,
Why though?
we'll put TCG in Dallas, but then we'll put VGC in San Antonio, and then we'll put go in just a whatever even smaller venue than that, instead of just like incorporating them all together, right? Like these are Pokemon regionals. It's not a TCG regional, a VG or a Go. These are Pokemon large events that they're trying. This is all marketing, right? It's all extra fluff for they're trying to promote Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and the new DLC and what? Oh my gosh, Aurelian just so happens to be using Terapagos, who you can
Nobody
use
cares
in the
in TCG about Aurelian using Tropicos, though. Nobody cares in Go.
First of all, yeah, I agree. But under their system, they care that the new Raging Bolt Ogerpon deck is in finals, and they can promote that that's in the Twilight Masquerade set. I don't know what you call that. Whatever. But they care. All this stuff, all this fluff that we're a part of, this circuit that we are a part of, is just marketing. It's an extension. I know it's the esports department or whatever that's handling all of this within Pokemon, but this is all just like a pseudo extension of the marketing team, and they're not going to want to separate that into three different events.
Better,
but you're not going to,
event.
Because you're gonna put Go in a hotel that fits 100 people when you can just have it in the big venue where VG and TCG are, and it's a better marketing show. That look at the positive connection. Look at all the games interacting together.
You can put Go with either VG or TCG, whatever has more space, while it's still growing, because that's the main thing. While it's still growing, VG was at that point while TCG had a boom. I think there was like 600 to 700 people at some of the TCG events, while there was still a dwindling amount of VGC people. And I don't think when the game is small, it's an issue, because 100% you should be putting them in the venue that has everyone else so they get the experience. I think VGC has outgrown that, and you have two games now that are really competing for that space and those resources, so they should be split up. And since TCG is the bigger game, make Pokemon Go into the VGC regional, so they still get to have a big experience, because that's how they'll be able to grow their game. But I don't think that having VG and TCG in the same spot now helps either game grow, because the marketing that they'd be able to do, oh, look at this Raging Bolt, they'd still be able to have, but on an increased level, because events are maxing out. There's people that aren't able to get enough spots, and they'd be able to, like, the marketing, it only helps if more and more people go to those events.
I think like decent like middle ground would just be like be at the same venue at the same regional and just have two separate halls, because most of the convention centers do in fact have like multiple halls that you could just host them in. So it's like you could just do a VGC and Go hall and then a TCG hall, and then like you still have like the marketing of, oh, they're both in the same place, and like you can give spectator passes that cover both, but like, the production is dedicated to just, playing the video game and like focusing on the Go and VGC players in their area and allowing them to get the full attention and like the full, stands or whatever other things the, VGC and Go would want, and then the TCG have their stuff, whatever TCG players like.
Cards.
More cards.
Going out on a limb.
Well, yeah, no, like I think it's some
shiny cards.
they get some cool shiny cardboard. Like, heck yeah.
Yeah,
They're set. They're set.
I don't know.
I like the different halls thing though.
I just wish the video game got like a little more love. That's just me because I'm like, a selfish video game player. But yeah. I mean, I do agree though. Like, I don't think the downtime's an issue with the stream. I really like the stream. That's just me though. I guess, but I think a lot of people do, and I think Pokemon is improving. Like the prizing and like just doing things to try to make VGC a little bit more appealing. But I do agree with Sierra though. I feel like if you want the game to be as big as it could be, considering so many people like play Pokemon, and like love Pokemon, and just don't like have exposure to VGC because like I don't think they promote them individually enough. Because I know plenty of people who are like familiar with like TCG as like a competitive scene. Like a lot of people don't know the video game is played competitively even still. So I feel like just if we want the game to be as big as possible, which I think is a good thing for the game, it like makes the game more exciting to watch, and you get more storylines and more personalities and so much more like just content for like the viewer, then you've got to like give a little bit more love to the video game because we are the like redheaded stepchild in comparison to TCG. I don't even know what Go is, but.
To rip any Pokemon Go like listeners that are listening right now, they're just like,
Hey,
what?
I'm in Caleb's Go draft league right now. It's very competitive. Okay,
I believe that. I mean, Go actually like Go looks fun. Like I'm sure it's more. I'd rather play Go than TCG. But yeah,
I think too. Like if they split up halls, they do all that. Like we're at a weird mix where events are capping when competitive and casual people are trying to sign up.
Mm-hmm.
And they're playing for different goals, but neither is invalid. But if you have like dedicated halls or dedicated venues or whatnot, you could incorporate both. You can have bigger areas for this more casual side to build up and like this more competitive end. Like I don't know. I feel like it definitely has gotten a lot better. Like they've put a lot into this game and you can really, really tell. But like, I don't know. I feel like with Pokemon esports, like the sky's the limit. We're still kind of kicking it around here. Like there's still so much more.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that there's a lot of room to grow. I just don't. I don't know. It's already a logistical nightmare just for them, like to play in one season as a whole. And now, if we were to, sometimes you might just have to separate locations and weekends. It's not as simple as separating and like you get hall A and we get hall B because some venues don't have that capacity. Like yes, some do that we're not using the full capacity of those halls. We're not taking full advantage of it, but other options don't. And like I go back to 2022. I think it was 2022 when Denver had that TCG only regional with no VG. It might have been 2019. I don't remember. I forget. There was one regional that was just TCG, and it was Denver. And it was like, honestly, it felt insulting as a VG player. Like we are equal games. Yes, TCG is the breadwinner for TPCI at least, and like they're in charge of that circuit and everything, and they have way more players and whatever. But like, at least the illusion that we were all Pokemon games created equal was like held up until that Denver moment, and then just sitting at home as 1,000 TCG people got to experience a regional, and VG was like, "No, you're not good enough to be a part of this venue." Like it was a real bummer feeling when that happened, and I don't want to go back to those feelings that like because TCG has more players, they're gonna have more events or larger events than us.
I think it makes sense. I could see your like aversion. Like, I could see the risk because it's like if they do that, if they held them in separate venues, because there's some venues that are smaller, then we already are like the less important of the two, so we become like more or less important. So I understand.
I think it's like giving a space for VG to have its own importance, because I think when you're trying to treat VG like TCG, VG will always be less important. Because if you're looking at a marketing aspect, I mean, the constant TCG rotation of the cards, a new set every 3 months, like there's inherently so much more marketing there. And if you're also looking at the marketing with what audience is buying in, well, with TCG's growth, it kind of only makes sense, right? So if like you're kind of putting VGC under that same market of like that same umbrella of marketing, it's going to translate into VGC kind of feeling left out, because I don't think it directly translates. Like, I think it needs to be its own direction, to be its own thing before it could really take off. But if you're treating it under the same umbrella, well, TCG is going to beat it out every single time. Even looking at the local card shops, they're going to prioritize TCG because TCG is more profitable. You look at a higher level, TCG has more attendance. People want to vend at the events because TCG players will buy the cards. We're playing TCG's game right now. As simple as that. And we're always going to lose if we're playing TCG's game.
But if you think about it, one, TCG can't, I mean, they could just make up Pokemon that don't exist, but they don't. So TCG can't exist without the video games, because
100%.
Scarlet and Violet made Ogerpon and Raging Bolt and Gouging Fire and Iron Bundle, and just trying to think of other TCG cards I've seen on stream, right? So their
Monkey
game
Dory.
relies
I
on
saw
Monkey Dory, exactly.
It's good in TCG.
Comfy.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything all according to Monkey Dory's plan or whatever. Like, so they need us just like we need them, because they're the breadwinners on the esports end of it. But also, like, remember, Championship Sunday is closed out by VG, and the video game is the thing that sells 28 million copies every new generation. Like, so in our subset of the world, TCG is bigger because they have 2,000 players and we have, 800 or 900 players at every regional. But in the grand scheme of things, and they still understand with VG going last on Championship Sunday, that the video game is still, just as important. So I don't feel like we get short shift right now. Like, I think they get more people that sign up and they get more money off of TCG, but I don't feel like VG is the redheaded stepchild. Like, just because we get playmats as rewards, it's like, well, people used to meme when they would give out 3DSs for you to winning, so they got made fun of, so they stopped doing it. So now you get a playmat and a hat.
I don't know. That goes back to, at a competitive level, we're playing the TCG game. Like, that even speaks more to me that we're playing the TCG game, because if we're selling millions of copies per year and the TCG can't rely without us and all of this stuff, then we should be getting a higher
Well, we're the
attendance.
final
Why aren't we?
game. We're the final game on Championship
That doesn't
Sunday,
matter.
baby.
Like, I'm looking for
It does matter. The main event does matter.
Patrick's sitting here like, what did I get myself into?
It's
oh
not
my
9
God.
a.m. We're not
They
playing
do not-
Go
they do
at
not-
9
They do not stop
a.m.
yapping over here.
I'm enjoying hearing you guys, because you guys have like way more like experience with the whole
Bro,
like
by the
tournament
time-
thing. So I'm enjoying hearing like, I mean, I get to see stream personalities, not opinions. So this is fun.
Listen, by the time Patrick's game took place on Championship Sunday, it was almost bedtime. You know what I mean? Like, it was like 7:30 on the East Coast by the time it actually happened. That's prime time.
Mhm.
We're not playing at 9 a.m. like Go is, and the building is only 20% full, and it's 20% full of TCG players who want to be in the front row for when TCG starts. Like, we're not being treated that way. We are being given prime opportunities still.
I just don't think it's the same. Like, I don't think we're being treated poorly, don't get me wrong. I'm thinking of the potential of splitting up the games to give, it's like, I don't know, if you have like a bunch, like, let's just say you have like 30 cats. You have 30 cats. I don't know why. You cannot give all 30 cats the attention that they need. Now, each one of those cats goes to a loving home that gives that one cat all of its attention, and that cat is going to flourish. That's how I'm looking at this. I'm not saying that VGC is being neglected here, but I'm just like, if you just give VGC away, I feel like there is so much potential off of that. It doesn't have to compete then with 29 other cats.
What type of cat are we? We orange cat, a black cat, like a little striped cat?
I was thinking like the little void cats, like all the little black cats running around, their little amber eyes, they're all super, super cute. Y'all weren't on board with this analogy. I don't know. I thought this analogy...
3 cats.
Yeah. I mean, 30 cats is I would agree with you. We should separate 30 cats.
Well, I was going to say 2, and then I'm like, wait, I have 2 cats, and like,
and
I love them both,
crazy.
and I give them
Listen
a lot, and I give them a lot of attention. I don't know. So like, you need more cats.
Yeah, I think crazy cat lady persona doesn't exist at 2 cats. You definitely need like I would say 4,
5.
maybe 5.
I think
That's the threshold to be
4's
a
an
crazy
okay
cat
number
lady.
of cats. 4 is actually like a very appropriate number of cats.
Patrick,
That's
do you
a
have 4
lot
cats?
of cats.
I don't have cats. My family has a few though. I've only ever had 2 though.
Okay.
I love cats.
I was
4
like,
is a
the way that you say 4, like 4 is not too much. I'm like,
That's a cat person
Suspicious.
speaking. I know. I do love cats. I'm a cat guy.
No, over a dog?
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, Patrick, you're breaking my heart.
I love dogs. Like, can't they coexist?
No. We've seen in media.
I don't know. Cats are just easy. They're so simple, and they like lay down and they just sit there and they let you pet them. Most dogs are high maintenance. Cats just chill.
Cats just exactly. I love my cats. They just vibe.
But I do love dogs.
I mean, obviously, I love both of them. I'm just saying, if I have to choose
Have to
one, I'm
pick.
choosing dogs. Man's best friend, after all.
Goodness. We have spiraled so far.
A little bit.
Just so far. That's okay, because I think I have a question of the day. If y'all are ready.
Super
I'm
ready.
Super ready? Alright, I actually lied. Give me like 10 seconds.
I was gonna say that's impressive
We have a
because I was
timer.
also
Do we have,
trying.
like, a 10
I was
second timer?
also trying to look through the questions this week, and you just like confidently had one. So I was
Alright,
like,
so
oh,
I'm gonna merge 2 questions. That was 10 seconds, I think, like on the dot.
Could-
I'm gonna merge
Could you
2
just,
questions
since
here.
we missed last week, couldn't you just do 2 questions?
Oh, that's a great point, Patrick.
Yeah, you gotta.
Patrick got my number
for the
right
fans,
here. Patrick
right?
calling me out. True.
For the
I-
fans, 2 questions of the week. Let's do it.
All right.
Combine your thing. Do your thing, and then I'll find
This
one.
this
I'll
one's
find one.
combined because they're very much so kind of asking the same thing, just with a little deviation. So each one of the questions, one was both of them are talking about the break, like the break in between NAIC and Worlds. With the break having officially begun, what other games you've been playing, are playing that you feel have helped you as a Pokemon player be in skills or mentality? That one's coming out from Geb. And then Queenie followed up with, what are you doing between now and Worlds that's Pokemon related? Or what are you doing that's nothing VGC at all? Like, basically, how are you handling this break right now? See how they're kind of like interlocked? Basically, what you doing right now? What's everyone been up to?
Yeah, I'll go first. Give you guys time to think. I mean, pretty much, I've mentioned me playing the One Piece trading card game many times on this podcast. I go to my local scene twice a week. We usually get like almost like 35, 40 players to come to locals for on a Thursday night, which is a lot of people to come every week. So
Yeah.
I've been just investing as much free time as I can into One Piece and like playing online, playing on the simulator, watching YouTube videos and regional VODs and everything like that to get as well equipped as I can within One Piece. And I've definitely improved a lot in the last couple of months that I've like started hardcore going into the game. And then besides that, I actually started. I'm a big anime fan, and oh god, hold on. Sorry about that. I have a cough. I'm a big Fairy Tail fan. For anybody who's watched the Fairy Tail anime, and there was an old game back in 2020 that came out for Fairy Tail, and it's only in Japanese, and it's like kind of an anime, like they're just retelling the story from the anime. But I love the series, and when they announced the new Fairy Tail 2 in the Pokemon or the Nintendo Direct last week, I'd already owned the game. I never played it, and I'm like, well, now I have a reason to finally dive in. So it's like a JRPG, tactical, turn-based, elemental weaknesses, whatnot thing. So if I'm not playing One Piece, I've been playing the Fairy Tail RPG.
Okay. I didn't want to interrupt you during that, but Patrick, did I see you drinking water out of a milk jug?
It's not a milk jug. It's a gallon of water.
A gallon of water. All right.
I mean, I guess,
But you
like,
can
depending
put
on your
milk in that.
perspective,
Yes.
it is a milk jug. Yeah.
All right. I
It's
just
just a
saw that and I had to
jug.
ask.
No, it's got the water branding, so it's not a jug of
right.
milk. No.
The
Okay,
property of the jug changes depending on what you put in it.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
independently, it's just a jug, or
Okay. All right. Okay. Patrick, what have you been up to so far in your break? Anything that's helped you with VGC or just straight relaxing?
So not much Pokemon, a little bit of like just testing like Lunala out, enjoying playing that. But like other than VGC, Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance came out like a week or two ago, so I've been playing that, which is just like a JRPG. And like I love my JRPGs, my turn-based JRPGs, so I've been playing that. I'm only like, this is gonna sound weird if you don't play a lot of RPGs. I'm only like 14 hours in, so I haven't played that much.
I get you.
Yeah, but I'm really enjoying that, and like obviously, I like playing other turn-based games. That's usually what I end up playing. I don't often play like any other genre, other than like I do like my like Stardews and stuff like that, like the more kind of like
Stardew Valley?
yes, Stardew Valley.
Yeah.
I do like those type of games.
That's Sarah's jam.
I like simulation games a lot. Like I enjoy The Sims and Stardew, but I haven't played a lot of those recently. But there's like other than RPGs, I tend to play those a decent amount. But I also started a realm, like a Minecraft realm, with a group of like Orlando VGC players. So like as a group, we've been playing like a VGC Minecraft realm, and that's been a lot of fun. But yeah, so just SMT5 Vengeance and then Minecraft. So those have been my gaming things. Do those help me with VGC? No. But am I having fun? Yes.
I feel like the VGC community was on a hive mind with Minecraft because coincidentally, me and my group of VGC friends, we also started a Minecraft server. We ended up downloading like the Cobblewan mod, which I don't know how much I'm actually allowed to talk about. But yeah, we've been no-lifing that. And it's been a lot of fun. It's only VGC people. Like we started this realm like 3 days like before I started seeing posts on Twitter that's like, should we start a VGC wide Minecraft server? Like, who would sign on? It was like, and everybody in their
I think it
was
was
commenting.
a collective mind because like it's like only
everyone.
It's only like Florida VGC players in the realm for like us. And it's been a lot of fun. Like I love Minecraft. I grew up playing Minecraft, so it's like it's always like that fun game to visit like once every 2 years to see all the fun things that have changed, and then never touch it again until like 2 years later.
We've been taking turns with who's paying the $20 for the server for the month and a half, and then everybody stops playing. They cancel the server, and then a few months later, it's somebody else's turn to pay the $20 to get a server for everyone to play like No Life for a little bit. So yeah, that's what that is one of the things I've been up to in terms of like gaming and stuff related. The other is Valorant. Doesn't help me in Pokemon, absolutely not. But we have been getting so much Valorant hours in right now because everyone's kind of, I think this is like the period where everyone's kind of chilling out a smidge before Worlds. I think once we get in a couple of weeks, it's really going to be like the, oh my god, Worlds is in a month panic time. But right now everyone's like, play some Black Ops, let's play some Valorant, who wants to hop on Minecraft? That ends up being like really fun while everyone's kind of decompressing from their VG season.
Yeah, it's almost like Worlds it's close enough on the horizon, but it's also so far away at this point that like you don't want to lock in, oh, this is the six that's gonna win Worlds, and then 7 weeks later is when you actually have to play it, right? So might as well play some Valorant at this point.
Yeah, though I kind of realized I have like a different job. I didn't really look at how far away it was. I didn't realize how close it was to the end of the June, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's in 2 weeks. Like I
know we're already.
I have to get on that. Like, oh my god, time's going by fast.
It is crazy. All right, I came up, I didn't come up with it because one of our wonderful listeners and friends in the OHKO Discord came with it. But first, I'm going to answer somebody else's question that's not a question of the week because they're asking, when you guys look for question of the week, do you want them to be Pokemon related? I can think of some that aren't Pokemon related. So to answer that, for general parameters going on in the future weeks, because we love when people ask us questions, we want it to be ideally Pokemon related, but like not competitive stuff, right? So like all the time we get questions like, oh, this new Pokemon, it comes out and like it's like, what do you think about this Pokemon? They're like, well, we're going to talk about it, right? It's like, what do you think about Miraidon winning Regulation G event? It's like, well, we're going to talk about that in the regular episode, right? So we don't like questions like that. We want questions that are, fun personality Pokemon related questions. So you can learn more about us, learn more about our guests and different things. I think I'm explaining that right, Sierra? Like, we want things that we can expand upon our personalities and our interests, and you can learn more about us that aren't necessarily hardcore VGC, like analytically driven.
Something that you want to know that you do not think is going to be discussed in the 2.5 hours of the podcast we normally have.
Boom. Okay.
Stamp for approval.
Our second question of the week. This is
your fault, by the way, Patrick, the second question. Yes. I hope you realize this while you suck here for another 10 minutes.
So I'm going to somewhat change it and make it an easier answer. Our second question of the week is from Turkey Soup in the Discord. Remember, join our Discord if you want to ask us any questions. I'm going to change their question to, if you could be a gym leader in any Pokemon game, which game would you be a gym leader in? And which type would you be? So they asked, like, oh, which gym leader would you replace, and all this, like, don't worry about that. Like, which game do you want to be? So you gotta think of the region, you gotta think of the Pokemon available in that region, and what would be your type.
Okay. I guess I could start. I think I have a general answer pretty quickly, actually. So I idolize Crasher Wake. That is my favorite gym leader. I definitely want to be a water type gym leader. I really like water types, so water type gym leader. I'm not sure, obviously I don't have to ask, replace anybody, right? That's not a part of the hypo.
Yeah.
I think the hardest thing for me would be, picking, a place to, be a gym leader in, because I forget, the specifics of what Pokemon are where, but I think I'd want to be probably either, probably Gen 3. Gen 3 and 5 are, my favorite generations, so I think I'd want to be, a Gen 3, water-type gym leader, and then, there's so many water types in,
there's a lot of water types,
Hoenn, that I have, a lot of choices. I want, I don't know what I want my Ace to be, but I know I'd, want Swampert and, Walrein, because I love both of those Pokemon a lot, so I guess water-type gym leader, and I want, it doesn't matter where I'm placed in the region. I just want to be a water type.
Yeah, just the Hoenn, region as a whole.
Yeah. Hoenn, and then Swampert and Walrein in any of their forms. I don't care if it's. I mean, Spheal would be great. But any of their forms of level, I don't care if in the first or last gym leader. But I want Mudkip, Spheal, that line as my two main Pokemon. And then Wailord, no, absolutely not. Maybe Pelipper. I can pick Pelipper. Pelipper works. I get Rain.
Yeah, he didn't get no Wailord fan art made for Patrick.
I got Pelipper fan art. I didn't like Pelipper until I won with it, so now I have to put Pelipper, else I'll disappoint people.
Wow!
I don't know.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I know that's.
You weren't just winning with your favorites.
No,
with the
sadly
most commonly used Pokemon and the number one restricted Pokemon in the format.
Sadly, no. I don't have a lot of attachment, except for Urshifu. I do actually, unironically love Urshifu.
Get out of here!
No. I'll defend that with my life. I love that Pokemon. Kubfu won me over in the Isle of Armor. That was the cutest thing.
Kubfu's adorable.
Yeah.
Urshifu, he can't even get his sprites proper in the game.
I think Urshifu's cute, but that's just me.
Yeah. All right. I'll answer next for the gym leader thing. So replacing a gym leader, I loved Flannery in Gen 3, the original, I played Ruby. First off, she always kicked my butt. It took me forever to get through that stupid gym. The gym was just, it was terrible to get through. And then I'd have to save in front of her. And I think I did that battle probably about 30 times. So I was too stubborn to go and level more because that's no fun. And she just kicked my butt every single... The Torkoal? Terrifying. Absolutely. So if I had to be a gym leader, I'd probably pick Flannery. When you're talking about what type would be your specialty, I have so much trouble answering this question because I start going along the okay, well, I really like Talonflame, So do I go the fire or flying way? Well, if I go fire way, then I can pick up this Pokemon flying. Oh, but then I like Dracozolt, but then that's Electric Dragon. Which way do I go? So I always really, really struggle with that. I think a very common theme is I love birds, but I don't like a lot of the grown flying types. So it's like I would either want to super just like I'm the main character here syndrome, either be the champion so I could have a variety of Pokemon, or I would want to be like the first gym leader somebody has on their like route, so I could have a bunch of unevolved bird Pokemon. Like I have my little Fletchling, and it's so cute. It's got like a little another flying Pokemon. It's got a halo, you know, like all the cute little bird Pokemon would be so adorable. So I think as soon as I have to make decisions, like actually specializing for Pokemon that are a little bit more evolved, like I can't make a decision. I'm too all over the place. But like Fletchling, it's so cute. Birds, they're adorable. So.
I was gonna say, like, if you asked me like what gym leader vibe, I would say you give off a flying type gym leader vibe. Personally, I didn't know the water with Patrick. You know, we're just meeting each other. We're just learning each other's personalities. But overall, all these years, I would say that Sierra would be a flying gym leader.
No, why though? Why?
You just give off the flying vibe, like the.
What's the flying vibe?
I think of like Kahili, and I think of like other. That's the girl from Gen 7. She's the golf girl.
Yeah, she's the golfer.
Yeah. Like I don't know. I feel like you're kind of in that floaty, like, you know. Vibe, Pat, you gotta back me up.
Joe Brown picking his words real carefully right by now.
Especially because that like jacket.
I don't think this is a negative
jacket
thing. Like,
kind of looks like the Alola, the flying type Elite Four. Remember, right? That's what you're talking about. It's like the same color that they wear, right? Also, I didn't even think about this. As you can see, birds. I've got like a dragon behind me. That would also be like a very close second as dragon type gym leader. I love dragon types.
No, you're cheating.
But that's
you're cheating.
That's I know.
I'm saying it right now to any of our listeners. Yeah, because it's if anybody says they'd be a dragon gym leader, you're an absolute dork. Okay,
I know. That's why I had to avoid and say water type. It's like I didn't want to be a dork and just be like, oh, I love dragon types because they're strong, which is the honest answer. But I do love water types. I think it's Crash or Wake though. If I could be any person, fictional or real, it'd be Crash or Wake.
we're the outfits.
Yeah.
Joe Brown, what type gym leader? If somebody's fake?
I don't want to say it again. The type that's weak to fairy. I'm not going to say it again. I'm not falling for it.
I don't know what you're talking about. All right, what's your answer?
All right. I still don't understand why you were upset that I said you give off flying type gym leader vibes. Like Patrick understands me. I think it's,
I just want to know why. I just want to know why. It's like if you go to somebody and you're like, oh, you'd definitely be a fire type gym leader. It's because you're saying that they're temperamental and they're hot headed.
That's why I didn't say. That's why I didn't say you were a fire type gym leader.
Yeah, but I want to know what vibe flying type gym leader gives
go
off.
Along with the like breeze, right? You're I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. I meticulously stacked my groceries at the grocery store today on top of this huge pile as the person just sat there and watched me. And then I meticulously put them in. I don't know if I'm with the breeze type person.
Sounds just like what a fletchling would do, you know? I don't know. Anyway, for a long time, I've always associated that I would be an electric type gym leader, always back in the day. Or ever since back in the day, electric has always been my favorite type. And I just had this conversation during the NAIC preview show as well. They asked us our things, and nobody else got offended. Like I said, Jeremy would be a poison type, and he was like, like I feel like calling someone a poison gym leader is way more, inciting violence than saying flying. But he owned it. I would be electric gym leader. It's tough because it's like, do I want to live in my favorite region of the games, or do I want to be in a region that has the Pokemon available that I would want to use? You know what I mean? Because like my favorite region is Sinnoh, but like unless I'm going to use 6 Luxrays, I don't really think I can really be a great electric gym leader. I guess you have Electivire, too. But so I think my answer is I'm gonna be world themed. We're gonna be Alola themed and Hawaii themed, and I'm gonna live in the Alola region as like a post game elite, or I don't know, electric gym leader, and I could have Tapu Koko as my lead, and then like what's the Alolan Raichinium Z as my sweeper to take advantage of electric terrain or something.
Is that is there really like a Alolan Raichu? I can't say that.
Yeah, Alolan Raichu
really,
had a
they was Z moves are weird.
Our Alolan Raichu had a signature Z move that was a psychic type Z move.
I learned something.
And also doubled its speeds with electric terrain. I don't think Sierra is very impressed with my
I'm just
answer.
like, I'm Joe Brown. I think if somebody picks Dragon type as their gym leader of type of choice, I think they're lame. Also, Joe Brown, I want to be a post-elite for gym leader so I can have a legendary on my team. Because wouldn't that be cool?
Let me just slap Pincurchin on my team and just give out free gym badges to every 10-year-old in Alola.
Yeah, like, pick better Pokemon. I don't know.
You better earn it. You gotta earn it.
Okay, buddy.
Go ride your Tauros into a wall somewhere else, okay? You gotta earn it against my full Volt turn 6 electric type team that also has
Zekrom and a Miraidon on that team too? Get all the electric types. Ooh, I have a Zapdos too.
Iron Hands. You need Iron Hands.
Sure.
I don't need those. I can use what's his face?
I'm a champion, so I just got Pokemon from different regions that you can't get.
Vikavolt has Levitate, so you can't. Oh, you're gonna earthquake my Raichu. Ha! You thought swapping Vikavolt.
See, I don't have an issue with Vikavolt. I have an issue that you said Tapu Koko.
Listen,
I do think it's awfully suspicious too. You picked electric type when like water and flying types are the types we chose. Seems like you're counter teaming. That's pretty petty.
I'm sorry, Patrick.
I'm stronger.
I'm sorry that you didn't know me when I was 7 years old and electric type was still my favorite type and has been for 25 years.
Seems pretty fake.
Yeah, I'm actually just metagaming right now. I'm metagaming on our hypothetical question of the week. You caught me.
Feel like that sometimes.
And Dragon resists electric, so that's why I call Dragon leaders lame. Right?
I see now. I understand now. I respect that.
Change it to ground type gym leader.
Wow.
Brutal. I'm gonna mess you up with my guard chomp. Your Vikavolt is Levitate and hit by this rock slide.
There's a lot of electric types that learn Ice Beam, so I think I'll be alright.
Okay, I have Terra.
Oh, you have Terra in Hoenn. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, because I'm different. You get it
now. See, look at the extra value that Patrick brought to the podcast by forcing us to answer a second question of the week. That's was true. Value gained, Sierra.
That's true. Thank you, Patrick.
You're welcome. I'm glad to have held you guys captive for the second question. You guys can leave.
Perfect. I'm glad we.
Go. Now that we have Patrick's approval, I say Sierra, it's time to close out the show. Remember, St. Jude Charity Tournament this weekend, this Saturday. Make sure you're following online. Sierra and I are going to open the show. It should be a fun time. But here you go, Sierra. Close us out.
We better see some OHKOs and everything else in the support when we are streaming this weekend. Of course, we'll post it in the Discord and on Twitter, which is a good reminder that if you're not in the Discord or you're not following our Twitter, that you should go ahead and do that right about now. Thank you all so much for listening. Before we wrap up, we, of course, have to say real quick thank you to Patrick for being on the podcast. It has been a lot of fun. And, of course, for anyone who has enjoyed listening, which I'm sure they have, where can they find you and follow you?
So I have the same handle on all social media. So Pat_Con5 if you want to find me on anything. It's about all.
Or easy, it's easy peasy.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same social. Yep. Love that. But Patrick, thank you again so much for joining us, and of course, everyone, thank you. Oh, we're getting such cool spending here. But yeah, thank you, of course, anyone who has been listening, who has made it to this point. We'll see you all next week on OHKO, but until then, have a great weekend. Make sure to stay cool out there.